You don't read the terms of service, and I don't blame you. Why would you? You just want to browse your ex's Instagram or crush candy, which might be one and the same. You don't want to know how the sausage is made, and frankly, neither do I. Some people have tried to read them, but ultimately, they just clicked accept all, and that tends to bite us in the ass. But why don't people read them? And why does this even matter? At what point in history did it become easier to understand the lyrics of the Red Hot Chilli Peppers than a privacy policy? I'm Simon Caine, and these are my terms of service. The terms of service agreement is simply a legal contract between the user and the service provider. Do you always go to the edit bay when you've not written a joke or got a dated meme to fall back on? Yes. Lame. Fuck off. For the most part, the terms of service outline the user's rights and responsibilities, including their code of conduct and the privacy policy. Privacy policies are where terms of service agreements get complicated. Well, Avril, that's a great question. They make them complex on purpose, and editor Simon, can you flip me back round now? Flip me back round. It is a legal requirement for us to know what personal data is going to be collected and how it will be used, also known as how companies will make a profit. Given selling our data is their business model, of course they don't want us to know any more than that. I mean, do you really think McDonald's wants us to know that their app sells our location data to famously ethical insurance companies? Or that TomTom sold data that proved drivers were speeding to the Netherlands police? Or that OkCupid sold your dating questionnaire answers to BuzzFeed so they knew what topics to write quizzes on? One of those isn't real. And that's kind of my point. Everyone is selling data all the time and making billions. And we aren't seeing any of it because we're all distracted watching YouTube videos. Thanks, by the way. Don't forget to like and subscribe. He's got a good point. Oh, I feel so dirty. Now hit the like and subscribe button. It's worth noting that every company whose business model is dependent on selling our data has two customers, us and the real customer. Marketeers who buy our data in order to target us better with adverts. They give them billions, while we give them nothing. So who do you think they're going to be more distracted by? I mean, let's just take a random paragraph from Instagram's terms of service. I've got Elmo here to read it to you to make it less boring.
To operate our global service, we must store and transfer data across our systems around the world, including outside of your country of residence. The use of this global infrastructure is necessary and essential to provide our service. This infrastructure may be owned or operated by Meta Platforms Inc. Meta Platforms are either limited or their affiliates.
Now, did you understand any of that?
Elmo didn't understand anything that came up on the auto cue.
Don't worry, buddy. It was written in a way so someone like you couldn't understand it.
Elmo's gonna go browse Instagram now.
Cool. No, wait. Sure. Experts suggest that the terms of service and privacy policies should be written at an 8th grade level, so everyone on Sesame Street can understand them. They picked 500 of the most popular websites and apps and actually read their terms of service. Only 2 met this standard. For me, the most shocking part of all this is that they think there's 500 popular websites. I only use 5 in a week. YouTube, YouPorn, Gmail, Google, and YouPorn again. So maybe 4. The other 498 websites required more than 14 years of education to understand them. Once more for the people at the back. You can't consent to something that you don't understand. So I'd argue by making these terms of service impossible to digest, social media sites are breaking the law. Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law. There are 2 main reasons for this blatant complexity. Firstly, it means we're less likely to read the terms of service, and the illusion of consent is maintained, meaning that they have technically met their minimum legal requirements. In the same way, cold calling companies will let me remove my number from their list, but only if I handwrite them a letter and wait 60 working days for their response. You have technically given me an opt-out option, but you've made me jump through more hoops than a dog at Crufts to achieve it. And secondly, it takes away our right to complain about their actions. South Park, true to form, did a brilliant episode on this subject, claiming that the iTunes terms of service has the rights to your firstborn. And as funny as that is, It's not far off the truth. Toronto University did an experiment. They put a clause in a lengthy terms of service agreement that said they would own your children if you click agree. More than a quarter of students tasked with reading these terms of service clicked agree before they got to that point. And it was the second bullet point. Companies have actively started trolling us because they know it's a bet they'll win. An American insurance company offered to pay the first customer who read their terms of service $10,000. They didn't advertise this offer, it was written in their terms of service, and eventually a bored student with 76 days to spare claimed it. I'm guessing they were doing sports science. Those fuckers do nothing all day. For a day, GameStop changed their privacy policy to say that if you go to their website, they have the legal rights to your soul. Now, of course, that was a joke, because we all know souls don't even exist, and even if they did exist, they wouldn't be as easy to sell as our data. So why would they even want it in the first place? Slightly closer to home, Manchester-based public Wi-Fi company Purple updated their terms of service to say that if you agree, you have to do a minimum of 1,000 hours community service, including but not limited to cleaning the toilets at festivals, scraping gum off the streets, and manually unblocking sewers. Now, I have to commend this level of trolling, but what the actual fuck is wrong with the world? So let's pretend for a second that you have the reading ability to consume the terms of service. You don't. How long would it take you to read them? Well, this ranges massively, but if we assume that everyone has a reading speed of 250 words per minute, Microsoft Terms of Service is 15,260 words, which should take around 64 minutes. That's about 1.5 episodes of The Blacklist, right down to Instagram's 2,451 words, which should take you around 10 minutes to read. That's enough time to have sex 3 times. I feel like I've just overshared. But who has time for that shit? 10 minutes doesn't sound that long until you've tried to have sex with me 3 times, but that's just 10 minutes to read the words. Understanding what they mean in practical or applicable terms to you is going to take a lot longer. In 2012, some boffins at Carnegie Mellon University estimated it would take 76 days to read the terms of service for all the main social media sites and apps. And that's nearly doubled in the last decade, partly due to there being more apps, but also because they want more of our data. And that means they need to hide their intentions in ever more complex privacy policies. The only other thing to have doubled in the last 10 years is inflation and sales of hand sanitizer. Right now, it is easier for a meerkat to get into law school than for one of us to understand the terms of service agreement for even one app that we use on the daily. That's forgetting the fact that they can change their terms of service at any point, rendering reading them useless. To put that in perspective, the US Bill of Rights is 7,591 words long. All My Friends Are Dead is 7,121 words long. And How to Live with a Massive Penis is 32,000 words long, or so I've been told. So unless you're willing to spend a quarter of your year reading the terms of service on the assumption that they won't change them 5 minutes after you've finished, that's the reason why nobody is reading them. Firstly, because they can't. Secondly, because they don't want to. And finally, because even if they did read them, it would be out of date by the time we finished. But why does this even matter? Well, Barry, this conspiracy theory is right up your street. A lot of privacy policies say they will comply with law enforcement, as well as prevent or take action against illegal activities. This means that although you can sit back and relax, safe in the knowledge that governments can't and won't track you without big public scrutiny, private businesses can and do. And they will give that data to governments or the police if they ask nicely.
Seems like an invasion of privacy.
Not just that, the terms of service are presented to us at a point where they're just getting in the way of the content or the website that we want to access. Most of them also use dark patterns or clever psychological tricks to make it just easier for us to click OK or accept than scrolling randomly for hours through words and sentences that we don't understand. But even skim reading and looking out for words like advertising partners, third party, or firstborn would take days.
What can we do about it?
Well, not a lot, Elmo. A better way would be to get governments to legislate so they have to write them in plain English, so even a child can understand them. But frankly, I don't see that happening.
This makes Elmo sad.
Me too.
Oh, hey, like the video and subscribe. That would cheer Elmo up.
Well, that would be lovely. But most viewers are monsters, so I don't see that happening. I use tosdr.org. This website summarises terms of service for me, but it's not perfect. Sadly, until we get another option, or we get control of our data, terms of service will continue to be illegible, unreadable, and impossible for all of us to process.
Oh, we'll see you next week.
Bye!